We have a great episode for you today from Joey Hart, who's a real estate investor. He's been in the business about a year and a half. He's already had ups and downs, but one of the best things about his business is that he started profit first from deal number one. And I want you to get someone's perspective that's been in the corporate world, that came to be an entrepreneur, that now has a perspective that helps you understand why managing the money is so important, even from the first deal, and why having a purpose is what will get you through the tough times. So please listen to this episode. Go back and listen to it. This is a great one. If you especially are either thinking about getting into real estate or you've lost the love of real estate, I believe this episode will help you a ton and will help you understand why managing your money is so important. Enjoy Joey's episode. Welcome back to the Profit First ROI podcast. Joey Hart is in the studio with me. I'm super excited about this one. I've known Joey now for, it's got to be at least a year and a half. And Joey, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh man, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I appreciate you for actually reaching back out, because I love when investors, especially with the answer you gave, you said, I want to help people. I want to, like, if they're going through the crazy real estate world, like, then you've got some wisdom that you can share with them, which I think it was really unique, the way that we got introduced and how you even joined with Simple CFO. Because if you're listening to this, Joey is actually a client of Simple CFO and of our company, and has implemented Profit First, is working with the CFO. We're going to talk about some of that. But first, I want to talk about, you left corporate America to run a HomeVestors franchise. And Joey, I wanted to ask, what was the moment you knew you need to make the jump from corporate America into really the entrepreneur world?
Sure. I'll try to make this as short as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, my career history, I started out as an engineer. Okay. Now I'm flipping houses. Like, how in the world did that happen? I believe God has a very specific purpose for our lives, and he just has guided me, and I've gone all over the place. I had engineering. I had a stint in product management for about 8 years. I spent about 8 years in sales, and then that's when I left. So the short answer to your question is that my sales career, which I said I would never do, and so that's one lesson: never say never.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you know, but my sales career was lucrative, and it was to the point where, okay, I can't just sit on this. I've got to do something. I got to be a wise steward of what I have. So what does that look like? To me, that I found real estate investing to do that. All the while, things where I wasn't exactly where I wanted them to be. And I think it was just God's way of saying, look, you got to start thinking different. And so I started thinking different, and thinking, what if I would have franchised? I had some friends say, why don't you think about franchising? I was like, I've never thought about that before. So I decided to do franchising, looked at some other brands, and found HomeVestors. And it was like, where have you been all my life? Because I had started down the real estate path, and I'm saying, wait a second, I can accelerate my rental portfolio, which was my ultimate goal, and kind of put money on the table in the meantime. So I decided to buy a franchise. And then why I left corporate America was I realized there's no way I could do both. Some guys, have their W-2 job. They build this over here till it's successful enough. There's no way I could do both. So I said, I'm going to go all in on real estate. And that's what I did.
Awesome. So how long has that been now that you've been in the entrepreneur world?
So I bought the franchise late 2024 and started full-time March of 25.
Okay.
So a little over a year and a half now.
Awesome.
About a
So
year and a half, yeah.
in that transition, have you seen anything where you're like, or I guess let's just blow it out there. Do you ever regret leaving corporate America, or have you liked your journey so far in the year and a half? I know it's early in your career and in your journey, but I'm very curious there if you've had those feelings yet.
Oh man. There's days that's like, what am I doing? But again, I have that guide. I know that this is the direction I'm supposed to be going. So I have that to fall back on. So I don't regret that. I don't regret it. Like the freedom that I have to do what I need to do when I need to do it. the ability for me to help impact others. It's so many different things that I could never do in a corporate environment.
And it sounds like your purpose, that why, is really driving you and helping you to make those decisions along this journey. Sounds like you want to help people. Like I even got that from
Yeah.
not when we've talked before, but then also even what you put through when we were talking about coming on the podcast. Like if you're listening to this, he wanted to help you on this podcast because there's things that have happened. And now with this question, now we get to go into some of the fun stuff that's happened over the last year and a half.
Okay.
If you've had a deal that looked great on paper, but taught you an expensive lesson, do you have an example of that to give us?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry.
No. It's a learning. And that's what I've had to learn is perspective.
Yeah.
When I started this business, I used retirement money, and it's called a ROBS, rollover for business startup. If anyone has ever heard that term, the IRS allows you to take money, put it into a retirement account, create a C corporation that buys shares in that retirement account. Then you get access to your retirement money, and basically an interest-free loan to myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I decided to do. And I'm looking at things like, well, a plus or a minus, it's all, I could have my money in the stock market. I might as well have it in myself. Same. So I had a major down. It's actually my first deal. Not my first contract, but my first purchase. And I held on to that for 13 months before I sold it. I thought everything was set up great. I bought this at a real estate meetup. It was set up. I knew the guy that was selling it. He set everything up. He said, "Hey, I've got a contractor here. His wife is the real estate agent. Here they are. You can talk to them. Here's a good deal for you. It's a little bit far away, but I've got everything set up for you." And I was like, great. So me, inexperienced, I didn't do enough due diligence. And so everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Oh boy.
The contractor was not at the level he needed to be. I didn't realize that till it was too late. I didn't make site visits frequently enough. So budget overrun, market shifts. And now the value is way off from where I thought it was.
Ouch.
I mean, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. So, but again, on that flip side, what would I have learned? How would I have learned that otherwise?
Yeah.
So while I lost a small fortune on that deal, I learned quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Quick pause from the episode. I have exciting news that's expanding the world of Profit First for real estate investors. You may know that years ago, I wrote the book, Profit First for Real Estate Investing, endorsed by Mike Michalowicz, that has been read now by thousands of real estate investors. And now we're launching 3 workbooks, one for wholesalers, one for fix and flippers, and one for rentals. These aren't just deal calculators, they're full implementation guides. They're dialed in for each type of business. Wholesalers, you're getting assignment fee math, marketing, budgeting, planning, and how to beat the feast or famine cycle. If you're a flipper, you get ARV accuracy, rehab budgeting, and profit forecasting, and running multiple projects at once without going broke. Rentals, you get your freedom number, cash flow per door, and a 5-year portfolio plan. Plus, the full Profit First bank account setup and allocation system tuned to your business with formula specific for your business type. Everything you need to go from operator to CEO. And right now, they're free. You just need to cover shipping. You go to pfreiworkbook.com. That's pfreiworkbook.com. Just like Profit First for real estate investing, pfreiworkbook.com. Grab whichever matches your business, or you can grab all 3. pfreiworkbook.com. Go get them, make more profit. All right, back to the episode. And yeah, there's your real estate college education right there.
Oh yeah, this was not 101. This was like a 301 or a 401 course.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it with all the different things. So you got to see different aspects, and it made you super smart after this first one to be like, okay, here's my checklist of what I know I'm never going to do again and what I have to always do going forward on these properties. So which leads me to the next one, which I guess is more on the upfront. When you're evaluating a house to buy, what does your underwriting process look like now? And are there certain numbers that have to work for you? Percentages? Is it profit amount? Is it, I don't know,
Yes.
cash flow? If it's buy and hold, like what is that for you on the upfront
Yeah. So
process?
I'm primarily looking at fix and flip. So I'll talk around that context first. And actually, now that I said that out loud, I try to look at a property with multiple exit strategies.
Awesome.
That's the key.
Yep.
So, what would it look like if I just wholesaled this property, generate some quick cash, assigned a contract to another franchisee or another investor? What would that look like? Could I afford to do that? Could I just wholesale, not quite full retail, not quite wholesale, but somewhere in the middle, just some paint, put it back on the market, do it quick. Or what does it look like if I have a full retail flip? So that's how I look at that. I look at what's the value of each of those exit strategies. What's the after repair value of each of those strategies. And then I look at what are the repairs, what's it going to cost me to put into that. And then how long am I going to have to hold it? What's the interest, insurance, all those things are going to cost me. Then I look at, so I'm building a profit and loss statement basically. And then I'm looking at the bottom line of how much am I going to walk away with? Some in the real estate community, like Bigger Pockets, those type of things will say 70% minus repairs. That's your offer number, so then I make an offer based on that. My CFO has challenged me to say, look, let's look at a profit margin, a gross margin. I call gross margin, meaning acquisition cost, sales minus acquisition cost plus rehab and all of that. Not my operating expenses, not marketing, none of that. That's what I would call gross margin. So he says, let's look at some gross margin targets of, 15% in this case, or maybe let's make it 20, or in this one, maybe you could do 10, helping me fine tune what should I aim for? What could I accept as a floor? And so then that's when I'm looking at properties, looking at multiple exit strategies. What can I make profit from this deal? And, what's the risk? Is this a quick turn or is this a longer turn, but gets more profit? That's what I look at.
Awesome. I love that. So sounds like because of that first deal when you bought it and it's like, okay, everything went wrong. I really like what you said. It gave you perspective of like, okay, what do I really need to learn from this and how can I apply this in the future? But then adding to that, now you're looking at every deal. What's the exit strategy? Is there multiple exit strategies if it doesn't go right? So that way I'm not stuck with a deal, that's costing me a small fortune here. Or is there some way I could make that back? Which I think is another great thing about real estate too, is that, it can be forgiving in the ways where it's like, oh shoot, it didn't work for this. Maybe I could do something else with it over here. So I like that. I like that encouragement. Yeah.
I had it, speaking of just 2 seconds to give positive for folks out there. I had a deal where literally all I had to do was clean the property out, professionally stage it. They had a pool. I opened up the pool and I walked away with about $100,000. So
wow.
On the deal that can go super horrible where I lost probably over 50. I'll just let's talk numbers.
Yeah.
There's another deal that right around the corner that boom, you can make all that up. So that's the nature of this beast.
Right.
It can change on a dime.
It really can. And that's why I like, and I'm going to go back to that again, keeping things in perspective. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I can never take a 50K hit. If Joey would have given up, then he wouldn't have had the 100K good thing that happened to him as well too. So it's like, you just have to keep going. And that's just, hopefully this is what is, if you're in the thick of it right now, there can be better days. So you just have to learn. You have to learn from those mistakes, and then you have to keep going. But you also did say working with your CFO to the margin and looking at it from that. So I have to ask from this perspective, how is it working with the CFO, and how does working with the CFO help you on the money decisions? And obviously he's already helping you like on the upfront and buying and the margin, but what else?
Right. Yeah. I mean, my CFO, and this is what I wanted. He helps keep me accountable. He challenges me because he has a real estate background and he knows what I'm doing. And so he's challenging me, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So it's, I get coaching as a part of HomeVestors. But this is like a coach that knows my numbers, knows my financials, my business. It's very powerful, very helpful. So giving me goals, introducing me to other concepts, have you thought about private money for this, or
Mm.
infinite banking, or some of these other concepts that I'm still learning about,
Yeah.
but that I wouldn't think about otherwise. You know, challenging me to run profit first and do it. This is why you did, like, pay yourself. Like, okay, so I just took a distribution, not a distribution because that's against the Rob's rules and taxes and all that, but take a paycheck
Yeah.
with your profit, do a semi-annual profit sweep, whatever you want to call it. Take your
Yeah.
money, my money. So,
Right.
but he's challenging me to say, because I have a very risk-averse mindset. I'm an engineer at heart. So I had that profit account sitting there, and I'm like, well, if things really go bad this next month, well, I could always. He's like, why are you doing that? You
Right.
might as well
Yep.
just have boost your reserve account or do the. So he's helping me learn how to manage my cash, and it's very helpful. And also on top of that, challenging me in my business in terms of thinking about things, thinking outside the box, and what I know, and educating me on other ways to invest in real estate.
Awesome. It's funny that you say, I know you brought up that in your past life you were an engineer. How many people we've worked with in the engineering world that have come to us that jump into the real estate investing world? Honestly, there's some of the best people we work with because they're like hungry for the numbers, and they're hungry for that accountability, because there is that aspect where they are risk averse versus the just hot to trot salesperson that comes in and says, help me, I am a freaking mess. I have no idea where my money's going and I need this. And then it's like, yeah, they're on fire for it, but then they go to something else. So I just want to say too, thank you for what you've poured into your CFO and how you respond as well too, because I think that's a great back and forth. But obviously, people need it for different reasons. It sounds like one of the big ones for you was accountability, someone that's in that space that's challenging you, but also holding you to standards and helping you to see different
Yes.
ways, perspective, things like that, helping you with the margin up front, helping you with profit first. So let's talk about profit first. It's a profit first REI podcast. We probably talk about that a little bit here and ask you some questions about that myself here. But before you became an entrepreneur and coming into this field, and especially as a HomeVestors franchisee, what did your finances look like before profit first? And did anything change after you've implemented it?
Well, honestly, I've never done anything except profit first.
Oh,
Um,
that's a
I was,
beautiful thing to hear.
yeah, I was blessed with the HomeVestors training that we do. We do a week of training up front, and you were a guest in during that training, and I'm very thankful for that, because it really was like, whoa, that's what I need to do. Like, I knew
Yeah.
it from day one. I knew I should
Yep.
not even think about it. So, what did take me a little bit was pulling the trigger on the investment
Oh, sure.
to have the service,
Yep.
and I'm thankful I did it, because I think one of two things would happen. Either I would be out of business, or I would not be paying myself. I would be in a very different place. And so I'm very thankful for that. But short answer to your question, I never did anything different. I knew I needed the structure. I needed the accountability. And that's what I chose to do from day one.
Well, I appreciate you saying that and your candidness and your honesty, because a lot of people, I think, they come in and they're like, oh, like, I need the help, but I'm not sure if I want to pull the trigger. And I think that's very eye opening what you just said, out of business or not paying yourself. And honestly, they're the two versions of the same thing. Because if you're out of business, obviously you're not getting what you want. But if you're not paying yourself, you're not getting what you want.
That's right.
And that's why I also like what you said too. You wanted the accountability and someone to challenge you, because then you're like, okay, I might not want to show up to this call. I might not want to do this thing. I might not want to take this money. I might not want to put these in place. But at the end of the day, you're like, man, I'm really glad I did. And I
Mm-hmm.
think profit first lends itself to that. Even when you were on that first call, it like opened your mind to, oh, there's a system for this. I should
Yep.
probably pay attention to this. And especially because you, with that engineer background, your antenna were probably going up like, oh, there's a risk averse system like for my
Yes.
cash where it can save me from myself. This is great.
Yes.
Like, yes.
Right.
So I love that perspective that you brought to that as well, too. And honestly, there's not a lot of people, Joey, that I get on the podcast. I ask that question and they say, well, I've actually done profit first the whole time. And, like from the first deal or like from my very beginning. So I appreciate that too, that you took that chance on yourself. And you also started this from day one. And it's just good habits. I know things don't always, and as we've already talked about on this podcast, things don't always go right in the business, even if you run profit first. You might have a deal that goes south or sideways, but you still don't have to worry. At the end of the day, if you've got the cash where it's supposed to be going and you're paying yourself and you've got someone there to help you. So I appreciate your perspective from there. That was definitely a different perspective than what is usually going on here. So thank you for that. Now, you did talk about this as well, too, and alluded to it with the roller coaster of real estate, and it can be up and down. So since real estate is so lumpy, and there's times where you've got stuff that's like negative deals, and you've got some that are $100,000 deals, how does Profit First, or how does having a system in place help you handle those ups and downs and the challenges for your business?
Oh, yeah. So I've worked with my CFO and we've developed a cash flow projection. So I know over the next few months what does each Profit First account look like?
Yeah.
What can I afford to do so that I can make decisions on, can I buy a house right now or can I not? Should I wait? Should I slow roll this rehab, just acquire the property, slow roll the rehab or whatever? Because I know where my money's going to be and I know what it's going to look like. So that's been a really good tool to help in making decisions on current deals, is to have that cash flow look. Yep.
The projection. Well, and I love that you're actually paying attention to it, because so many people are deal junkies in the real estate space, which I get it. You love the deal, going after it. But the fact, I even wrote this down while you were talking, like you ask yourself, should I buy this house or not? Where a lot of people are like, no, I have to buy it, or I need to buy this deal, or it's too good to pass up. And then they're doing too many deals and they've blown up their operation. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, you got more deals, but did that really help you get to where you wanted to be? And it sounds like you're very methodical. Like, okay, we're going to do this cash flow projection and we're going to see, do I have the money? Do I need to slow roll this? What do I need to do in order to put yourself in the position you want to be in versus just I got to have a deal. I got to keep going. So I do love that perspective too. Because like I said, not a lot of people think that way. And I just want people to feel that from you, that confidence and that discipline to say, yes, as much as that deal might look good on paper, I don't have the money right now, and it's going to put me in a worse position than if I did take that down. So now I love that. Okay. Did it take any adjustment going from the corporate world into the entrepreneurial world from the certain perspective of paying yourself? Like, obviously this is Profit First in this podcast, but did you have any, because obviously on the corporate world, you're getting paid every week or every other week or every month consistently, and it's coming there. They're taking your taxes out. They're doing all that. So how has that gone from the entrepreneurial level?
Oh, well, it's just now the burden's on me. Like, I got to come up with this cash. Like, how am I going to afford to do, can I afford to pay myself? Going back to the cash flow projections, like, this is what my employer used to always do. They looked at that and I never had to worry about it. So, it's been good to understand that. And now I kind of appreciate some of the decisions that had been made at companies I was at before. Like, oh, okay, now I understand that now because I'm a business owner. But in terms of paying myself, I would say it's just learning through how can I manage that and how can I ensure that I have that? How can I manage my cash well enough to ensure that I've got, several months of runway?
Yeah. No, I like that. It's scary because you are the one that it depends on. But then it sounds like once you have things up and running and now you've got these systems in place, it's okay, what can I tolerate? Like, I need to have these reserves out here. And it's making you think differently, which I love that. Okay. So on the same track of W-2 and like the corporate world versus entrepreneur, was there anything from the corporate world that you had to unlearn to become an entrepreneur, or like over this journey for the last year that has put you on a better path?
I think just on a practical level, unlearning, I've got to be in front of my computer 9 to 5. That's what I did for the last 25 years. Like, so
okay,
that's one thing. What I would say differently is that I've been able to, I feel like I'm using all the skills that I have learned in the corporate world
awesome
in this career now. from engineering, analytics, product management, to sales. Like this is still
Yeah.
I feel like my job is still very much a sales role. I'm talking with people, showing them the value of selling their house to me at a discount in exchange for convenience. It's still very much a sales job. So unlearning maybe just some practical, like,
Yeah.
it's okay to go outside and cut your grass right now, like,
Right.
or
The
whatever.
mental part. Yep, exactly. The
you know,
flexibility.
correct. So learning the flexibility, but I think more of it's just applying everything I've learned so far, um, into this role.
Awesome. No, I love that because I it feels like in the industry, real estate or just entrepreneurs or especially I guess maybe even the subsect of the hustle culture. It's like, oh, you don't want the W-2 or you don't want to go to college. You just go out there and you hustle, you grind it out. But for you, you're using a lot of those skills that you learned over the last, years in the corporate environment and you're transmuting them into the real estate world that's helped you with some of the things that honestly, some entrepreneurs have never even, they didn't have systems before. They didn't have someone where they could have learned structure. And now you've got some of those skills that you're now putting inside of the real estate business. I like that a lot. So the unlearning is more of the mindset of like, oh, yeah, I do own my own company and I do have flexibility. But then,
Right.
where you're learning, okay, no, I can put the things that I've learned into practice in the real estate company. I really like that. Because a lot of people, like I said, knock it, and I don't think they should always knock it because there's good things to learn everywhere where you are. So then I only have a couple questions left for someone, and you might have already answered this with your the first or second question when you were talking about that deal, but for someone thinking about leaving a corporate job to buy their first house, what's the one piece of it, or to become a franchisee or to become in the real estate world, whatever it might be, what's one piece of advice you wish someone had given you?
Mm. I'm not sure I can think about that, because I have such a great support network with HomeVestors
Yeah.
in this franchise. Like they're giving me what I need. I think the thing that I wished I had more was this I've never run a business before.
Yeah.
So where I can learn about real estate transactions and those type of things, I need to know more about running a business. And so that's another reason why I chose Simple CFO and running the Profit First system, was to give me that knowledge that I knew I didn't have.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're asking me, should I leave corporate America? Should I not? Should I jump into this? Should I not? I felt like I had a calling, a direction. I'm a Christian. I believe God guided me into this. And so that was my thing. But I would say, don't just jump into this thinking you're just going to make a whole bunch of money. And it wasn't about the money. I mean, it is. At the end of the day, I've got to provide for my family and
Right.
and whatnot. But I would say you got to have another purpose
Yeah.
for what you're doing. And that's kind of that's because I can fall back on that in the hard times. When I
Yeah.
lose $50,000 on a deal, I can say, nope, I have this direction. I know it's going to work out, and I have a trust there. And that's really what holds me up.
Man, mic drop there. So it's about the purpose. It's really
Yeah,
about coming back to the things that really matter in your life. Because if you're just thinking about quitting the corporate job just because you want to own your own job and you don't want to have a boss anymore and you want to make more than you've ever made, that might not prop you up when it gets really tough as an entrepreneur and you lose that 50K. Now,
absolutely.
Joey has a bigger life plan and a bigger purpose, and that's what's really driving him. That's where, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking of jumping, there's another thing too that you said where when you were first in the real estate space, before you even heard about HomeVestors as a franchise, and that there's a franchise system out there, and like, okay, I can get deals or something. So you might need a support system from that level as well and not just going alone. Because some people think they just have to go alone. I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the lone wolf. Let me go out there, I'll just get deals done. So it's the purpose that will drive you in the hard times, but you also might need a support system as well. So that's another thing that I took away from that. This has been awesome, Joey. I was asking him, like, were there any questions that that he had for me. And he asked, well, why do you want me on the podcast? I'm like, this is why. This was great. This was one of my favorite episodes that I've ever produced. So if anyone listens to it, you just have to come back on if you were a guest and try and beat Joey's podcast, because this was great. I love the answers, and I loved everything that he gave here because it was very practical. It was also, I believe you touched on the deepest thing that we talk about here on the podcast is the purpose. Like, profit just unlocks your purpose. And that's really what Profit First is about, because in a for-profit business, if you're going under, you can't think about your purpose. You can't think about those things, and people use money as an excuse, and it gets them out of there, gets them out from what they could really be doing. So Joey, I really appreciate your wisdom. There's a lot of great things. You did talk about that support system. So I was going to ask here, is there any place that you want to point people, or if they want help or community, that you would like to point them to?
Yeah, so I would direct you to HomeVestors. We Buy Ugly Houses. That's our brand. It's just been a tremendous blessing and support for me. It's a franchise model helping individually owned and operated franchisees buy and sell houses. We've got training, coaching, lead generation, just support. I mean, a group. I meet with franchisees monthly in my market, and then quarterly with our entire state market, if you will. And we bounce things off of each other. We sell houses and buy houses from each other. I couldn't do this without that. So I knew back as an engineer mindset, again, I got to have a system. I got to have something I can fall back on. And that's what HomeVestors has really been to me. So could you do it without it? Sure. You can go market and find leads yourself. Yes, you can go find contractors. Yes, you can do this. But who are you going to call when you're dealing with the bad deal and you want to know how to make the best of it? Or what? I can just boom, phone call. Hey, I'm walking into a house right now. This is what I think I'm going to offer. What do you think? Nope, I would do this. Okay, that's a thank you. I saved $5,000 on a house doing that. I was going to offer 90, and he says, you don't know if that would have been 80 would have been good. So I got it for 85, and it saved me $5,000. So that system has been tremendously helpful for me, and that's HomeVestors. So WeBuyUglyHouses.com. It's got franchise information in there, or just call me.
Awesome. Well, Joey is a great testament, and we've been a part with HomeVestors for about 3.5 years now. They have a great system. So I would also say too, Joey, it's a lot of great people like you that have come from the corporate background, and they want some of that systems and structure, and give me a roadmap of what I need to do in order to get off the ground and getting these deals in the door. Then they have a great network and a great community and a lot of training and a lot of people there. So I like them a lot. They've been really good to us. They've also poured a lot into people like Joey to be able to be successful from their first deals and get those off the ground. And that's why, honestly, I love their partnership, because then if you can get deals in the door, we want to help you make sure you know how to run a business and know how to run your money. So if you want that side of it, you could go to simplecfo.com and book a call there. We'd love to talk to you just to see, is it the right timing? Can we connect you to the right people? We want you to know how to run a business and not be worried about the cash and not be worried about the money. So if we can help you from that perspective, we'd love to. Joey, this has been incredible. If there's anything else that you want to say to the community or any other advice before we sign off.
I just say, go for it. That's the risk-averse thing, again, having a purpose, having a goal, but just go, that's what my lesson, yeah, I think just take the step in faith and just do it.
And just do it. Believe in yourself. Make sure that you have that purpose that can drive you in the hard times. You might need a system and a community around you as well, too. You might need some help to make sure you know how to run the business. That's where Joey was a great example of putting a lot of right pieces in place, using a lot of the things that he's learned throughout his life, and then also using some of the hard times, too, to really define, okay, how do I want to do this going forward, and learning, and just that perspective of it's not failing, it's learning and moving forward. So Joey, thank you so much again. And then if you're listening to this, remember, make profit a habit in your business. That's it for today's show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share this episode. If you're serious about financial systems and keeping more of your profit, visit simplecfo.com to take your free discovery call today.